Hi, I'm Robyn Alexander and I have a business called ColourStreams. And I do hand-dyed silk embroidery threads, ribbons, fabrics, and they're all multicoloured, beautiful colour play. But today I want to show you how to use these traditional products in a non-traditional way. And we will be using silk ribbon down here. And you can see the colour play already in it, it's beautiful. And sadi threads, which are metal spring coils. They're used in gold work and military work, all those, really encrusted gold things. But usually these are used in this more traditional manner in silk ribbon embroidery. But today we're going to make little earrings. So these are a really fun little bauble-y thing to make. You can make large ones, small ones. We're using a small felt ball that is about 12mm diameter. But not only can you use them like this, all these products over here are used in the same manner, making all these baubles and these beautiful pins here. So let's get started. The first thing I will do is talk to you about tools. So you do need good light, so you might need a personal light, but I'm going to put my number one tool on, my spectacles, and here's the tools, the main tools. I have a small pair of pliers. They have a grip in here. They help me pull through the ribbon on the big needle through the felt ball because it often gets a bit stuck. You need a sharp pair of embroidery scissors and only use them for threads and ribbons. And then a second pair of older, but still need to be sharp, scissors. These will cut the sadi threads. And the sadi threads are a fine metal, so that's why you need old scissors for those. We also need the correct needles. So for ribbon work, you use chenille needles, which are like a pointy tapestry needle. And we have a fine beading needle. I've got two already threaded up with my beading thread. But with workshops, I find if I get a mixed pack of embroidery or crewel needles, a mixed pack of milliner or straw needles, mixed pack of chenille needles and some beaders, I'm set up for absolutely everything. We also need the correct thread. So in making these baubles, I like to use a strong beading thread. And here it is here. This is called a Nemo thread. It's a strong nylon thread. Comes in a variety of colours on these handy little bobbins. I've already used this green, which will be close enough to the foundation felt ball that I have here. So we need to set up our first parts. So what we're going to do is do this. We're going to make 6 spokes of the sadi thread. We're going to cut the sadi thread now. Keep in mind that this is a little metal spring. And once it's stretched out, it will not stretch back. So watch this. We've got a stretched out section. Now what you can do here, these are fantastic, even if you've made a blooper. Fold it in half, sew this half in, and then you've got these beautiful stamens for a flower. So nothing's wasted. But how do we establish the length of the sadi threads? So we want to go from the North Pole, so I'm putting that edge right at the very top, and I come down the side. And I just push my fingernail in. If you haven't got fingernails, use a needle. And I just get it in there and I make a mark. So you can see where the bend is. Now I've already made some here, so I'm going to make them all the same. And I need 6 all up, so you can measure against each other. You'll get quite used to doing this. So there's 6. Now they are a hollow tube, so that makes it easy. I have my beading needle, it's got my beading thread, and it is knotted. So the best thing that I can do now is attach my thread. So I'm down, let's say, at the South Pole. I take my needle through, there's the knot. Now that knot's not secure, so I do a second catching stitch. Because it's a fine needle, fine thread, we could pull that knot through. See, that's quite secure. Now I bring my needle up to the North Pole. Right, that is going to be constantly the top. That's where the post here, that's where this piece will come from. So we put on our first sadi thread. Now we need to put these on like 6 spokes of a wheel. So they need to go on with the same spacing between them. I just eyeball it, so here we go. So I've got it on, come back up to the top. Now we will do that 6 times. So we have our first one on. And if we look from the North Pole, I'd say, well, that's 6 o'clock. The easiest way for me to visualise this, I'll do the midnight one now on a clock face. So I come, thread it on, oops. Thread it right up the middle. And then I keep that nice and straight. And where's the side? Okay, so that's about halfway down. You can see it's halfway down. And back up to the top. So we're constantly coming back up to the North Pole. And we continue to do this until we've got the 6 spokes evenly placed around the piece. So now I know I've got to fit one here and one there. So I'm going to just eyeball that again. That's about halfway down the ball and back up to the North Pole. And again. You get into quite a rhythm doing this, and after a while you'll be spitting them out like no man's business. So down halfway, back up to the North Pole. Turn it around and then we'll fill in the other sides. Now I've got to fit 2 in here, so that's about yes, that's, just get used to using your eyes. You could measure it if you lack confidence, but really just train yourself to it so you feel a bit more confident. And these are just a fun little article, so they're nothing to get worried about. Last one. Up there. And I'm coming up. As you can see, I'm about 2 millimeters or 2/16 of an inch up from the bottom of the sadi, midway between the columns of the sadi. You'll see why in a moment. So there's our spokes. They'll all even out in a minute. So we're happy with those. Now, just for safety, I'll do a little catching stitch, but stay in the same position. Now we start our beading and sequins. So I'll just move this over a little. So these are little flower sequins, and I like them to cup against the ball, so they fit against the ball. So I've got that on, then I add a nice bead, and then I go back down through the sequin and come up in the next bay between the sadi columns, same 2 millimeter up from the bottom, and I go all the way around doing the same action in each of the different bays. So you always come up through the sequin and the bead, and then only back down through the sequin. I use Japanese beads mostly because the holes in them are a uniform size and you can get your needle through. Sometimes with the other makers of beads, they're not so uniform and you throw a lot away. And I can't go much finer in the needle because I wouldn't be able to thread it. Nearly there. So basically you just fill in the gaps between the sadi threads, which is really quite enjoyable to do. This matting here is called bead matting, and it's a fibrous matting, and it stops the beads from flicking around. I find it excellent to work on. That or a piece of wool felt that's taut. If you use a tray, I find the beads ping around a little bit. Okay, now we're, oops, nearly blew it. Now we're up to filling in the just above this. So I'm coming up here. And this is a smaller spot up here. See, it's getting narrower, so I'm going to use smaller sequins. So I'm using the mauvey ones with these gorgeous cerise beads. And again, I'm going to do exactly the same. Come around and just fill in those spots. You could use any methods. As you can see, on this one, I've used beads. I've used these large size 8 beads with tiny little beads to hold them on. Sky's the limit what you can do. Most enjoyable. Round and round we go. I've got 60 kilos of these beautiful sequins in all sorts of shapes and colours, and I absolutely love playing with them. They put such light into your work and give you that joy when you're working too. And be as glitzy or as subdued as you like. I don't mind a bit of glitz though. And these sadi threads, they come in a variety of colours. Most of them are multicoloured because that's my thing, multicolours. I've been shopping to the ends of the world. Oops, see that bead? It's very narrow, so put that one aside. That's the last. Oh no, one more to go. Last one. Now we always finish off now with a catching stitch or two. So I'm going to take it back down the bottom now. I'm running out of thread, so it's time for a new one. But there we have it, all gussied up there. So I'm going to do a couple of catching stitches again. 1, 2, and a slip knot. Slip that through there, and that's nice and secure now. The best way to finish a thread, now that it's secured with the slip knot, I take it through the ball like this. Then I pull it tight and snip it right against the felt. Oop. And then it retracts in there. So that keeps it nice and clean. So there we go. We're up to the next stage.